The sun hung low in the sky, casting a soft golden hue over the vast expanse of the sea. The day was winding down, and everything seemed still, as if the world itself were at rest. The air carried the briny scent of the ocean, and the only sounds that filled the air were the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore, and the occasional cry of a seagull in the distance. A boy, no older than 14, stood at the water's edge, his bare feet sinking slightly into the wet sand as he looked out at the horizon. His face, though young, was focused, his expression serene, as he held a small plastic bucket in his hands. He was feeding the fish, his usual ritual whenever he visited the beach. It had become something of a routine, something that made him feel connected to the world around him. He'd sprinkle little bits of fish food into the water, and watch as the small silver creatures darted eagerly to the surface. Their sleek bodies sliced through the water with such precision, as if they knew the moment the food hit the water. The boy, whose name was Noah, had always felt an inexplicable bond with the sea. Growing up in a small coastal village, he had spent countless hours by the shore, observing the rhythm of the waves, listening to the sighing of the wind, and marveling at the endless vastness of the ocean. To him, it was as though the sea held its own secrets, whispering them only to those who were willing to listen. Today, however, something felt different. As Noah stood at the edge of the water, casting his crumbs into the gentle waves, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air felt heavier, the breeze cooler. It was a subtle shift, one that he couldn't put into words. He shrugged it off, though, chalking it up to his imagination. After all, the ocean was unpredictable at times, and moods could change with the wind. As he continued feeding the fish, he noticed something strange. The water, which was usually calm and inviting, was beginning to stir. At first, it was just a slight ripple, nothing to be concerned about. But then the ripples grew more pronounced. The waves began to churn, and the fish, once eager and playful, scattered in all directions, diving deeper into the water. Noah stopped, his hand stilling midair, the bucket of fish food forgotten at his side. His heart began to race as he watched the water move in a way that seemed unnatural. It was as though something was lurking beneath the surface, something large, something powerful. His pulse quickened, and a sense of unease crept over him. He glanced around, but the beach was empty. The usual visitors to the shoreline had long since packed up and gone home for the day. He was alone, standing at the edge of something he couldn't understand. His instincts told him to run, to turn around and flee, to go back to the safety of the village where things made sense. But he couldn't tear his eyes away from the water. Whatever was happening, it had captivated him. The sea, which had always felt like a friend, suddenly seemed foreign. The boy took a small step back, his legs feeling heavy beneath him. His eyes darted across the water, searching for any sign of what was causing the disturbance. And then, as if in slow motion, a shape began to emerge from the depths. It started as a shadow, a dark shape beneath the surface that distorted the water around it. But as the seconds passed, the shape grew more defined, larger, more tangible. The waves parted as it rose, a mass of dark, shimmering form that seemed almost alive, moving with an unnatural grace. The boy's breath caught in his throat. This was no ordinary fish, no creature he had ever seen. It was something else. His heart pounded in his chest as the shape slowly came closer to the surface. The water splashed and churned around it, but the figure remained calm, deliberate, as if it were in control of the very sea itself. It rose higher, and Noah could finally make out its features. The creature was too tall for anything from this world. Its form was elongated, its limbs like long, sinewy tendrils that stretched out from its body. Its skin, slick and dark, gleamed like the surface of an eel. But there was something more, something that made it feel ancient. The boy's eyes widened as he stared at the creature's face. Its features were not fully human, but there was an undeniable intelligence in its gaze, a quiet knowing that sent a shiver down Noah's spine. And then, the eyes. They were like nothing he had ever seen, glowing, twin orbs that pulsed with a strange, eerie light. They seemed to see right through him, as though they were not merely observing him, but reading his very thoughts. The boy took a step back, his feet slipping slightly on the wet sand as he tried to make sense of what was happening. The creature didn't move, it simply hovered just beneath the surface, its eyes locked onto his. 1,000 questions swirled in Noah's mind. What was it? Where had it come from? And why was it here? He tried to speak, to call out to it, but the words caught in his throat. His breath came in shallow gasps as the creature's gaze intensified, a pressure settling over him like a weight he couldn't escape. And then, a voice deep, resonant, and yet oddly familiar echoed in his mind. "You have awakened me, child." Noah's eyes widened in shock. The voice. It wasn't spoken aloud. It was inside his mind, as clear as if someone had whispered it directly into his ear. His heart raced, but the voice continued, as though it had been waiting for this moment. "You are the one who has heard my call." Noah swallowed hard, his mouth dry. He didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. The sea, his constant companion, had never felt so strange. The creature's presence seemed to stir something deep within him, an ancient pulse that he had never felt before. He could feel the power in the creature's voice, a force that seemed to resonate with the very core of the earth. It was as though the ocean itself was speaking to him. "I am the guardian of the depths," the voice continued, its tone solemn and unwavering. "I have waited for centuries, hidden beneath the waves. You, child of the sea, have brought me to the surface once more." Noah's mind raced. Guardian of the depths. What did that mean? The boy took another tentative step forward, his heart thumping in his chest. His legs felt weak, but he couldn't pull himself away from the strange, magnetic presence of the creature. His eyes never left its glowing gaze. "The sea is not just water," the voice rumbled, filling his mind with its ancient wisdom. "It is alive. It has a voice. It speaks to those who are willing to listen." Noah stood there, frozen in awe and fear, as the words echoed in his mind. He wanted to speak, to ask more questions, but the words wouldn't come. All he could do was listen, to this ancient being that had risen from the depths of the ocean. "You have listened," the creature intoned, its voice becoming softer, almost a whisper. "And now you are part of the sea. The sea is part of you." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The boy could feel the weight of centuries upon him, the knowledge of the sea rushing through him like a tidal wave. It was as though the creature had shared with him an understanding, one that transcended words. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature began to sink back into the water. Slowly, deliberately, it descended, its glowing eyes the last thing Noah saw before it vanished beneath the surface. The water calmed, as if nothing had happened, as if the creature had never existed. Noah stood there, his heart still racing, his breath shaky. The beach was as quiet as it had been before, the only sound the gentle waves washing against the shore. But he knew that things had changed. He could feel it deep within him, a connection to the sea that had not been there before. The creature, the guardian of the depths, had awakened something inside him, a bond that went beyond the surface of the water. The boy turned, his legs still trembling as he made his way back toward the village. The sun had set, and the sky was now painted in shades of purple and blue. He didn't look back at the water, but he knew that the ocean was calling to him, that it had chosen him. And so Noah's journey had begun. It was a journey into the unknown, into the mysteries of the sea that stretched far beyond anything he could have imagined. What had happened today was only the beginning, and he had no idea where it would take him. But one thing was certain: he would never look at the sea the same way again.